About 5 years ago, we revised our framework for learning to have three different areas to it. We had curriculum, we had instruction, we had assessment. We've called it CIA. I think most of our staff is very familiar with that CIA. We have probably spent a lot of time on the curriculum part of it. Every time we have a curriculum revision, we do the curriculum work. We've spent a lot of time with assessments, especially when we talk about the interventions that are going on at the elementary level. And what we really haven't done is we haven't spent that much time on the instructional piece. If you really get into the research on how do you truly make a difference with individualized learning and differentiation, you're really spending time on the instruction piece.
I think it's an opportunity for us to come together as learners and become more precise in our teaching, intentional in our teaching. Not that we don't have really good teachers, but it's just a way that we can have that discussion on common language so that we can grow in our PLCs and have that open and common dialogue.
From my point of view, there's several reasons. A number of years ago, Mr. Guthmiller kind of led the process of putting together a multi-year plan. In that plan, it was look at our framework, what's important to us, establish collaborative learning communities, and part of that plan has always been focus on instruction. Because of some of the work we've done with Marzano's research on what works in schools, what happens in the classroom is the key, absolutely the key component of student learning.
Well, in order to truly improve student achievement, we have to do adjustments based on where kids are, based on what it is that we're teaching, and that again comes back to that word differentiation. We started looking at all the things that we have going on in this district, and we made a list, and in fact we've called it the PD Lake, and we had probably 50 items that were feeding into this professional development that all of them are important, but all of them are a struggle to really focus our energies because we get very pulled in a lot of different directions. How does this impact teachers? Some teachers, it will be very reinforcing. Some teachers, it will probably push their thinking. Some teachers, it will make them very uncomfortable. Because if I'm not using differentiation right now, if I'm not doing some things differently for different classes, then that's going to probably push me out a little bit out of my paradigm. For students, we think this is so critical because that's truly how you make students successful. I think about my own kids. You know, when my two kids, they didn't learn the same. They don't learn the same. And to present everything in exactly the same manner to my two kids never happened.
Well, I think it's going to be good for teachers so that it gives them a way to talk about their instruction and a way to think about their instruction so that it is intentional, focused, and precise, and so that they're meeting the needs of all learners. It's going to be good for students so they have some wonderful learning opportunities to collaborate with their peers, but also see the modeling from their teachers and have that guided instruction and all the components that the graduate release model provides.
I think the model, the gradual release model, part of the power behind it is just the professional reflection and dialogue that we all do about our professional practice. What is it that we do to connect students to taking on the responsibility for their own learning, and what do I do as a teacher that impacts that student learning? And consciously analyzing and reflecting on what it is that we're doing.
I've read this book several times. Every chapter has tremendous bits of information in it, and every time I read it, I pick up something new. What we expect from staff in this entire model is probably first to get a grasp of it, to get a basic understanding of it. We are going to try and provide people a lot of opportunity to reflect on it, to actually use it, but our expectation initially is to get a general understanding of it. That's why we're bringing in Doug Fisher. That's why we're going to have these opportunities to reflect on it. That's why we're going to do a series of professional development days that we're going to focus on it. This is not a one-year process. This is probably a 3 to 4 year process. We want this to become part of our culture. We want this to be part of our organization. We feel like it will, as we get the language down, as we get the ideas out down, it makes us much more intentional about what it is that we're doing.
I expect them to be learners, to be engaged, to talk to one another, to stretch their thinking, and to challenge their own current practice.
Probably the same thing we expect from our students, to be fully engaged and take on the be responsible learners. We're all educators, and you certainly hope that we all can hone our craft and our profession every day through the last day.